Presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Another
one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome in on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway with me, as always, from CNHI Papers. Kevin, how are you, sir?
I am good. Hey, kind of a newsy week so far, right? Texas and Oklahoma.
All kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, that's not going over well, of course, with Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. As they feel like they're kind of being left at the altar, which they kind of are. But you know what? Is it Texas and Oklahoma's responsibility to take care of Texas A&M and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State?
Well, where does the Big 12 go from here? I mean, do they dissolve or do they go after other teams? Do they go after Cincinnati? Do they go after UCF and USF, two schools in the state of Florida in major markets? You could try to grab those. You could try to get BYU out west. I mean, there's a lot of options you can look at. And then obviously this morning news of
but the thing is, Kevin, none of them equal a Texas or an Oklahoma. Texas, although ever like a lot of people are commenting, so well, they haven't done anything. It doesn't matter. It is a brand, man. That's the largest athletic budget in college sports. They are an entity.
Tradition, history.
How is the deal going to work with their own network? Are they going to dissolve that? The Longhorn Network?
Here's the thing. I mean, the SEC has tie-ins, obviously, with the SEC network and with ESPN. So I think that there's some kind of compromise that can be reached there because it's all within the same umbrella, all within the same company. I mean, who knows? Maybe this ushers in each team having its own channel in the SEC. And I mean, that could certainly be sustainable. You could have a Longhorn channel, a Gator channel. You could go the other way with it, very easily. With that situation, if you want to really make it fair across the board.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Then, like you said, the Big Ten, we've got a lot to get to, so we'll be coming around to this back. But I'm not impressed with Kevin Warren. I guarantee you, whatever happens, the Big Ten is going to be caught on its heels again, and like, well, what happened here, and be Johnny come lately. Talk of USC and UCLA is ridiculous to me. It's crazy, but who knows? The college landscape is going to change for so many reasons, though, because of all the name, image, likeness, and all this stuff is going to play into all of it. It all has an impact on it now. COVID has changed it. Everything has changed. Nothing's going back.
Well, the latest I've seen on the Big Ten situation is they want schools that are members of the AU. They want academics first.
Maybe.
So that's why, they're thinking, of going out to the West Coast. They want really, they want academic heavy institutions. I mean, I've seen Kansas's name thrown around. You could do that for basketball. Can you imagine
but you gain nothing else. You gain nothing else. Do they have another athletic program that does anything?
Yeah. That's the thing, but why not add a doormat for football? Why not? And you never know. I mean, take a look. I mean, Indiana
they already have Illinois. They already have you always have doormats that are going to rotate. Right now, I don't know who that is in the Big Ten East, to be honest with you. Rutgers is kind of on a rise. Maryland's going to end up down there, but they just had how in the hell does Maryland have a top 20 recruiting class last year? And still going to end up down where they're going to end up.
I think I can answer the question of how Maryland has a top 20 recruiting class, but that's another story for another day. Mike Locksley's reputation precedes himself. He worked in the SEC. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
There is, but you got to coach them up too. That's the thing. You know what I mean? You can have all the great recruiting classes you want, and if you don't coach them and you don't develop them, and that's where Tom Allen and his staff have really made their bones, is the ability to turn 2 stars and 3 stars into all Big Ten players. I mean, that's where that's what separated Indiana in terms of their growth and their development.
How about Jabron Payne, 4-star running back? That's a big get. I mean, he put out a list in February that had Alabama, Florida, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Northwestern as his top 5 schools. And boom, he's going to end up in Indiana. Of course, that was before Indiana had brought in Coach McCullough, I believe, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, Coach McCullough, I mean, what a job he's doing on the recruiting trail in terms of, that and a guy that has NFL chops, NFL experience, has a proven track record of developing running backs to get to the NFL. And
but this is a big, I mean, this says so much. I mean, the names I just listed, you just beat out the big boys. You beat Notre Dame, you beat Alabama. Now, is that to say that a 4-star running back to Alabama, they're a dime a dozen? Yeah, I get that. Notre Dame, no, they probably could have used him. Some of those other teams could have used him. So that is a really that's a really big recruiting win for Indiana. I don't think that this has ever happened. A 4-star recruit that picks those 5 schools, that picks Indiana over those 5 schools, or 4 of those 5.
A couple of years ago, didn't Samson James decommit from Ohio State? I mean, that was pretty big, and he was a 4-star
guy.
But
that's one. He's from Indiana, and that's big. Yeah, but this is bigger when you've got when you put out a list and the team and Indiana's not even on that list, and that's where you end up. That's huge. And when it has, and it's like the other day I pointed out. The kid that is it maybe it's this one that you've got 7 out of the last 9 national championships amongst the offers that he has, but he chose Indiana. So,
well, no, like I said, Dylan McCullough, he's got a proven track record of getting guys to the NFL. I'm sure these running backs are seeing it. Let's see what they do when they get to campus too, because Samson James hasn't had a remarkable career yet either. So. You got to, you can look great on the front side, but let's see what happens when they get here.
As far as conferences, RBO Sprint says the Big Ten has 2 targets in mind: go west for the Pac-12 or go southeast for the ACC. But who in the all right? TV markets is what they think. First of all, that's why you heard USC, UCLA. Which is crazy. It sounds nuts for them to be in the Big Ten, but you're talking about the Los Angeles television market. Yep. That would then give them the top 3 television markets in America, with New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, and creating a triangle there. Seriously, think about that. You seriously think about the TV money, as the Big Ten has been the leader in bringing that in and making their conference so valuable to their teams. That's why Rutgers came in. That's why Maryland came in, because they were in such miserable shape. They needed the money. And the Big Ten is ahead of these other schools. Now, adding Texas, specifically Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC is going to help them, but it's still, they have not caught the Big Ten yet. And if the Big Ten if they could do something like that, and maybe add Iowa State along the way in the middle, they could come out just fine. But they have to do something, Kevin, and what are they going to do?
Well, I mean, Texas gives you what? It gives you Houston, it gives you Dallas, it gives you Oklahoma, it gives you Oklahoma City. I mean, Kansas would give you Kansas City. New York, Rutgers. Do people really care about Rutgers in New York? I mean, it's like the 10th.
Not right now. No, and you know what? Even if they were winning, nobody would care about Rutgers in New York, because hell, you've got too much going on. They're a pro sports team. Yeah. Colleges barely make a blip in New York. If they even make a blip in New York, you'd have to be making some kind of crazy run to catch New York's attention. But it's the games. They just want into the games, into that sports market, and that's a gigantic sports market to be in.
I mean, LA is a pro sports market too. Now, UCLA basketball, when it's going, USC football, when it's going, I think captivates the attention of that region for sure. Can you imagine Mick Cronin in the Big Ten? That'd be a lot of fun, right? And what UCLA is doing. I mean, that would be interesting for sure.
A lot of people, including myself, could have imagined Mick Cronin at Indiana or at the Big Ten last year, the year before that. In the last 4 years, a lot of people could have imagined Mick Cronin in the Big Ten.
Yeah, well, no question. But I mean, I just that and the UCLA Indiana matchups are going to be a lot of fun. I think there's some talk on the football side too of a Big Ten Pac-12 arrangement with regards to scheduling down the road, where you're going to have cross games as part of your non-conference games too. But I think you would like to go to 16 if you're the Big Ten, if the SEC makes that move. Just a matter of finding the right two that are the right fit. And Kevin Warren doesn't seem to be in any rush, and usually
Kevin Warren does. It's not that he doesn't seem to be in a rush. Kevin Warren doesn't seem to be up to speed. He always seems to be a step behind, and to me, he is making the Big Ten Conference look a step behind. They always seem like they get caught with their pants down ever since he's taken over. I mean, when Jim Delaney was in that seat, the Big Ten was the leader in every way, shape, or form, and there was no question about that. He was the leader of the elder statesman of the conference commissioners. No question about that. Now, I'm not blaming Kevin Warren that he has to be that guy because Jim Delaney probably didn't start that way, but man, he's got a long way to go. And I am not sold on his leadership of this conference. I really am not. And I think that there are times in life where you see things change, and this is an opportunity for the SEC. They're making moves. The Big Ten has to also do things to stay in the game. Are they going to do anything, the right thing? What are they going to do? That's the big question. What needs to be done?
Barry Alvarez is going to be the guy, right? The point guy. That's what Kevin Warren said. He's going to listen to the chancellors. He's taking a very conservative approach here, and he who waits is often lost. So you got to, I think you got to get with it here and look into, some avenues here in terms of. I think we are going to see the 4 16-team super conferences, and one of them gets dissolved. It could be the Big 12.
When you say they're listening to chancellors, that's another thing that just gripes me. What the hell do the chancellors know about this? Nothing. They are completely lost in all of this. They're running the university. They're not micromanaging the athletics department. Why? Please, somebody explain to me why the athletics directors, the directors of athletics, that the people who run that department, the CFOs of those departments, basically, why are they not the ones always the point person? That's who knows about all of what's going on. That's who knows about the logistics of everything that has to go on. That's who knows about what it's going to take to make it work. That's who knows about the problems that lies within however you go. Those are the people that know the way to go. Why on earth do you bring in people that are completely clueless? That's like bringing in Michael McRobbie. What in the hell would he offer? What? Nothing but
I just think it's a matter of them
roadblock.
I think it's a matter of them having to sign off on it. I think that's the main thing.
I understand that, but they're the ones usually that they talk to, and I don't understand that because they're the ones that are actually making a lot of the decisions, it seems like, and I just don't get it. You hired a person to run that department, trust them to run that department.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's branding impacts too. You don't want to bring in the wrong university, a university that's going to bring down the conference, bring down the reputation of the conference. There are other things that are in play here. And certainly on the academic side, the Big Ten wants to be known as an academic conference. And I think that's, another aspect too. You got to have the right fit. You just can't have, I guess the ADs all decide, hey, look, this is a great football program, but, they have a certain reputation. They run amok. They don't graduate their players. I think that's where that comes in.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's that AAU thing that American Association of Universities, but that's about research. And Nebraska is the only school currently not in that's a member of the Big Ten, although they were for 102 years. They were the only school now that has been removed from that, but it's not like they got kicked out, but they did kind of get kicked out. But is because I guess they just don't do enough research now. Because that has to do with research. The Big Ten is big on it, but they're probably flexible on that as well.
Yeah.
So
now picking up a Pac-12 school, I think
actually, let me take a quick break, Kevin. We got plenty more to talk about. Plenty of comments here as well. We'll get to those. Wyatt says if they care about TV markets, go for St. John's. They're not good in almost anything, but give you the heart of New York and Madison Square Garden. There you go. There's a thought. We got that. We'll come back to Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
I don't think
we'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. I think of St. John's in the Garden, and all I can think of is Coming to America. There's Mike DeCourcy right off the bat, baby. What's the shirt say? Point Park?
Point Park. That's my alma mater.
High school?
No, my university. God, we didn't all go to Division I colleges,
Yeah.
Well, I wished I hadn't have actually. Where was Point Park?
In Pittsburgh.
There you go.
I wished I hadn't have, Mike, when I was college age. Well, and then way later than that, I competed in rodeo for most of my life, roping steers.
Wow.
I did not know that while I was in school, I could have still competed in college while at IU. It doesn't matter what school I was at. I always thought that I had to be at a school that had a rodeo team. I could have roped with a buddy that went to Northeast Oklahoma or whatever. I did not know that till afterwards. Been brokenhearted for 30 years since then. After I found that out, but no, I'm sure Point Park's great. They turned you out.
There you go. My wife too.
My one of my last roommates, Tom Avampato, was from Pittsburgh. Tried to track him down, found his wife on Facebook, but really can't find him. But he was a Pittsburgh guy.
Jim, did you see the thing on the Wright family on 60 Minutes, the rodeo family?
That was a replay, but I had seen that. Actually, I knew one of those guys from way back. One was staying at UT Martin for a roping I had down there, and we were staying in their house or one of the guys' house, just like you'd see on there. There's like 6 of us staying in that house because there was a roping going on. But that family is remarkable. There was another family that did that same event, but they make that family look, it's like crazy. There's how many, like 4 or 5 world champions already, and Saddle Bronc is the event. But there's just a passel of them. There's like 13, 14 of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But and that land they had, oh man, if Kravitz was on, I wish Kravitz remember to ask him if he saw that, because ever since he saw that match, Mike, that they played in Montana. Apparently, he's never been to Montana. He's like, I got to go to Montana to play at that course. Did you see the match? They had a bear. There was a bear on the side that was playing while they were, the match was going on. I'm like, that's kind of funny. It's different than the Gators, I guess.
Good point.
All right, we got 15 seconds. Bring us back in.
Of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. Jim Coyle with you here as always, Kevin Brockway as well, and joined by the great Michael DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox and BTN. About to kick all those duties back off again now, Mike, aren't you?
I hope so. I'm looking forward to the season. We still have football to get through, right? We were all 3 of us. We had the full Indiana Sports Beat team at Big Ten Football Media Day last week. It was cool to get a chance to see everybody in person, and would be cooler still to do that all, not just talking, but actually watching people play football or play hoops or whatever.
Yeah, and just talking about how the event went off, and I talked about it while it was happening, but man, that just seemed to really add. It was probably partly because we hadn't been able to do it for 2 years, and there was that excitement. But that environment, the way it was done now, instead of being in a hotel and different ballrooms and this, that, and the other thing, was just a really, really cool environment. I think everybody seemed to really love how that was set up there at Lucas Oil on the field, kind of like they do the Super Bowl pre-media stuff.
Yeah, it was great. Lucas Oil did a great job putting it on. It was obviously wonderful for BTN, for television. The backdrop was amazing. Lucas Oil itself is a magnificent facility, and I'm not going to complain about the ballroom, because Big Ten Basketball Media Day is one of my favorite days of the year, because it gets us, I'm sure that my colleague Bill Bender, who covers college football for Sporting News, felt the same way on Thursday and Friday of last week that I do on that day in October when we get together. I mean, you're right back into the sport that you love. And although I love college football, it's not my thing. It's, my thing is college hoops. So when we get like if we're back in a ballroom at O'Hare, at the Hyatt or wherever, I'm going to dig that. No, there's no doubt. But it was really neat, like you said, to have that football thing at Lucas Oil Stadium. And although I will say that, and I'm not sure what you guys wore on your feet to deal with this, but I had on these Cole Haan loafers, and those little pebbles that are in that AstroTurf, they get in there every time.
Wow.
And so I can't even imagine what it'd be like to play a football game there and have to shower off all those pebbles.
I would have liked to have played on that surface one time, that style surface one. I did not get to, but yeah, man, they are everywhere. It's, if you're not familiar with it, when you see the black coming up on a replay and a football play, those are just hundreds of thousands of probably tires that have been turned into micro BBs, and just it allows the foot. Back in the old days, that's where all those knee injuries on the turf came from, because it would just grab everything. And this gives you some slide. It gives it more of a real grass feel, and they've got it to a pretty cool technology, I guess, really now. It took a long time to get there. Think about those Riverfront Stadium and what was the Philadelphia
that concrete turf.
That cooked with that Ohio River humidity temperature like an oven. Oh my God, that surface was horrific.
It certainly changed baseball in the 70s. There's no doubt about that.
Man.
I did a piece in 2019 on I guess it would have been the 40th anniversary of Game 5 of the 1979 World Series, which is the only World Series game that I ever attended in person. And I rewatched the game, and like the Pirates, who won the game, I don't remember what the final score was, but they won the game. And I think they scored 6 or 7 runs. It was a night offensively, but they didn't hit a ball in over 100 feet. I mean, everything was basically just a ground ball that bounced and bounced and bounced. I mean, it completely changed the game back in that day. But now we're back to mostly real grass in most of the ballparks, and so the baseball has now morphed back in a different direction.
High schools, on the other hand, all have gone in this direction, or a ton of them. I know that where I went to high school, both of the schools, Albany Floyd Central have that. Providence down there has it. Jeffersonville, they've all got this turf, which they said it's, they don't have to take care of it now. You just have to paint it and put the marbles on it, which is probably true. I'm like I said, I sure would have liked to have played on that stuff instead of slopping around on that. When that dew was falling, we had those old metal cleats, and I'm like, yeah, it's like being on ice skates. But yeah, it's just technology is a great friend. Speaking of ice skates, not exactly a different type of Olympics sport, but a lot of the Olympics are going on. Swimming, we've got Simone Biles news. The gymnastics team finished with a silver medal after she bows out with, injury. We were talking about that before. We don't know what to call that because is this a mental thing? Is this a physical injury? Are we going there? It's just the Olympics have already been kind of weird in some ways.
I would say that maybe some of it has to do with the nature of the last year and a half. It's been a strange time for everybody, and it affected athletes' training, their preparation, the rhythm. The elite athletes have a certain rhythm that when do you train? When do you take time off? When do you compete? And it's all geared up to, in obviously we just talked about baseball. You go through spring training, you play your season, you play if you're fortunate enough to be on a good team that maybe buys some relief pitching for your squad, i.e. not the Cincinnati Reds. Then you play in the playoffs, and then you have your off season, and there's a rhythm there. And that's true for obviously elite gymnastics athletes like Simone Biles. You gear up to the the U.S. championships, world championships every 4 years. You're gearing for the Olympics, and then all of a sudden you're not competing for the better part of a year, and your training is problematic because what's open, what's not. So I'm sure that affected her preparation. And obviously one can say it's the same for everybody, but it doesn't affect everybody the same because everybody's not the same.
And everyone doesn't have the same amount of pressure on them either. There's a whole bunch of difference between being Simone Biles and the pressure that comes with that and all the expectations and all of that, and being someone that's under the radar, out of the limelight, that doesn't have to deal with all of that.
No question. We saw Michael Jordan at 2 points in his career when he was still highly capable of competing at an elite level, walk away. First in 1993, excuse me, chose to walk away and play a year and change of baseball. And then in 1998, when he easily could have continued to be, at that point, he was the best player in the league. You don't see players walk away when they're the best very often. But circumstances that he's never really been completely open about led him to walk away both times. I mean, he said, he's never really given the full reason. He's given explanations, but he's never really given the full reason about why he felt compelled to do that. But that's an example of an elite athlete who experiences pressures that others can't understand and reacts to it in a certain way. And so we don't know the full story about Simone Biles yet, but she has hinted in the past about some problems in her foot, and that may not have kept her from competing, but it probably kept her from being the Simone Biles.
Mike, you were almost prophetic too about Olympic basketball and Coach Pop and some of their issues. Obviously, with their opening loss against France, you could see it coming in the exhibition season.
Yeah, I had this feeling really all the way back in October of 2015 when Mike Krzyzewski announced that the Olympic Games in 2016 in Rio would be his last competition as senior men's national team coach, and Greg Popovich was announced as his successor. And I couldn't believe it. Look, Greg Popovich is one of the great coaches of all time. He's got 5 NBA championships. This is not about that. But when we as a country got hammered here in Indy in 2002 in the World Championships and finished 6th, and then we followed that up by going to the Olympics in Greece and finishing 3rd, the U.S. said, okay, this isn't working. Let's do something else. And so the something else was you get an elite college coach who has a little bit more time. It's not like he's got all kinds of spare time at Mike Krzyzewski. He had more than someone who's coaching roughly 100 games a year against the best players in the world. He's coaching 35 to 37, and some of those are against Elon and Presbyterian. And so he's got to be at the top of his game maybe 20 times in a college season. And so there's more time to be able to devote to building the national team program, to investigating what's going on in the rest of the world, to just the time that you need to spend to be great at something. And from the time we used Mike Krzyzewski as head coach, during that period, we were 75-1, 5 consecutive major championships. People think it's just the Olympics, but it's not. It's 2008 Olympics, it's 2010 World Championships, it's 2012 Olympics, 2014 World Championships, and then 2016 Olympics. That's 5 consecutive. And some people are trying to write that down to, well, we had LeBron. We had LeBron for 2 of those tournaments. 2. It was great to have him, and we had Kobe as well, but we had him for 2. They won 3 without those guys because the program worked. So why do you go backward and again make the national team head coach just a lifetime achievement award for great NBA head coaches? It didn't work with Larry Brown, who's one of the best, I think, the best basketball mind in the history of the game. It didn't work with George Karl, who was a high-level NBA head coach. And it's not worked to date. 7th place finish at the 2019 World Cup with Pop, and now 0-1 in group play, and also lost 3 of the last 5 games overall, counting the exhibitions. It's not working with him. And I believe it's because there's not enough time for someone in his position to do it, and that we should have someone in that position who doesn't have the same load. Some have suggested Jay Wright. I'd be excellent with that, but I think even maybe not a better coach, but a better idea would be Jeff Van Gundy, who has coached USA basketball in a lot of World Cup qualifying events. So FIBA has this stupid World Cup qualifying system where the competitions are held during the NBA season. So the NBA has to, so USA basketball, has to round up like 7, 8, 10, 12 guys who aren't playing at the highest level, G League guys, maybe a stray guy playing in Europe, whatever, and go to qualify for the World Cup. And so he's coached that team, and he's 15-2 with those random guys. He's got the time. Television is, it's a full-time job, but it's not a full-time job, if you know what I mean. He has plenty of time that he could devote to being the senior national team coach. He coached in the league long enough. He knows his way around basketball. I think he'd do an extraordinary job, and I would be much more comfortable. I would have been much more comfortable entering these Olympics with him in charge than with Popovich, strictly on the basis of time management.
I think Mark Few is another guy, right? That he's heavily involved with Team USA and that program too, and he's got experience, even recruiting international guys. He would be another guy I think that would be. Absolutely,
yeah. One of my friends suggested Brad Stevens. Now that he's not a sitting NBA head coach, he's a GM. Again, it's a full-time job, but it's not coaching 100 games a year. I think all those ideas are workable. But I don't think it's tenable to continue to select the Steve Kerr sitting next to Pop now, and Steve's a great guy and a great coach, and I'm sure he'd do his best. But I just don't think that you can do your best when you're coaching that many games. I pointed out statistically, Pop has coached since 2015. He has coached more than 500 NBA games since 2015 when he was named. And that's not even counting when he actually started coaching. But since 2015, he's coached 500 NBA games. In the entire time Mike was the senior national team coach, which was 11 years, in that entire time, he coached only like 370 college games. It just shows you how much heavier the workload is for the NBA head coach. And I just don't think I don't think that's workable. And I don't think it should be about Pop's feelings. I think it should be about trying to put the best team on the floor and winning gold. And if you're not going to do that, don't play.
And you have to ask how much, after all those games, how much fire and I'm not doubting his will to win, but how much fire can you have after going through an entire NBA season, after going through the COVID, then the NBA season, then this, and all of those games? It's a lot to ask of anybody. We got a little bit more to talk about. We got to take a quick break, and we're back. Mike DeCourcy joining us from the Sporting News, as well as our good friend Kevin Brockway. We're back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for a relaxed...
Lily King gets bronze and conference realignment.
Oh,
man.
Where did Lily get the bronze in one event?
The
100
100 meter, the 100.
Well, the 200 is her main,
best.
right?
No, the 100 is.
Wow, and she only got bronze.
She got beat by her teammate. Who
Laser?
really got first? No. Who got first? I can't remember.
Lydia Jacoby, I think, was her name, from Alaska.
Alaska's first
17-year-old.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
17-year-old. Yep.
Wow.
Well, she was.
See, that amazes me that a 17-year-old. I have an 18-year-old daughter. I cannot imagine a 17-year-old kid just beat Lily King, just won a gold medal at the Olympics. I remember being 17. I could barely chew gum and walk down the stairs. It's like just amazes me that those kids can have that presence of mind, that elite talent, the ability to harness it. It's crazy. I'm jealous. Mike, what do you have coming up?
I'm just still working on the Olympic stuff, the draft, mostly those couple of things.
And the draft.
This girl's going to Texas, Lydia Jacoby.
What was that again?
The girl that won the gold is going to Texas next year.
Lydia
Jacoby. I just looked up the story.
SEC, baby.
SEC. Take it over.
SEC. Pay me. SEC will pay me.
That's
SEC
right,
will pay me.
It works. Big time college sports.
That's what they should change their logo to. A $sign EC.
Exactly.
Ooh.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back in.
Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle, Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. That means the great Mike DeCourcy is with us, and so much to talk about right now. The landscape.
Let me start, Jim, by pointing out the importance of verbs, okay? And why? Because while we were in the break, I got a press release from Penn State, and the press release said, Penn State alum Tom Hovass leads Japan to group stage win over France. And I was like, wow, is he playing 3x3? Is he on the, does he have dual citizenship? Is he playing for their national team? And I'm like, what is he, 55? Like, how is that? If they'd said coaches, I would have. But for a second there, I'm like, I know that was forever ago that Tom played. But
That's
anyway,
funny.
I just thought
Sucked you in,
wonderful.
Baby. They sucked you right in.
They did.
Those editors, that's what they get paid the big bucks for.
They got me
yeah. Man, conference realignment. It looks like now it is going to happen that Texas and Oklahoma have already announced that they're not going to renew their media rights for the Big 12. And with the next step is for them to ask to join the SEC, which that is the next expected step, which when that happens, that usually leads to other fallout, i.e. the Big 10. But it looks like I'm not sure where the Big 10 goes. I mean, there's just who knows? It's getting so crazy now. The regions, that almost doesn't matter because one of the first things we heard was USC and UCLA. And my first thought was, are you out of your mind? But I guarantee you, all they're thinking of is number 1, 2, and 3 TV markets in the United States. And if that were to become a reality, they would have that in the Big Ten. But it's all about TV now, which it always has been, but it's really about the viability of growing the dollar.
Well, I mean, I think to a certain extent it is, but I think there are limits to that, and that's part of the reason why the Big Ten never went after Texas. I mean, Texas fits everything that a Big Ten school is: elite academically as a state university, obviously a wealthy and popular athletic program, but the Big Ten never had great interest in the University of Texas because there is there has always been some logic to their approach, and Texas seemed illogical. USC and UCLA would seem extraordinarily illogical from that standpoint. So I'm not totally convinced that there is a next move for everyone else. ACC, Big Ten, Pac-12, whomever. What's out there in the Big 12, I don't think, is attractive enough for the Big 12 to wind up being carved up into sections. You can do it, but what do you gain? Who in the Big 12 really changes your dynamic? Kansas is so poor at football and for so long has been that you could add them and say, oh, they'll get better. But, I mean, their history is what it is. I think they've had one really good team in the last 35, 40 years. And Texas Tech is not in a high level market. Baylor is a great program. Again, not a huge market. So what's out there isn't that attractive to anybody. West Virginia, really good program, but again, not an enormous market. Even though they command the entire state of West Virginia, it's not a big state. There's not a lot of people in that state. So I don't know that we're going to see a next wave, but I also know that the number one factor in the creation of those waves is fear. What if I don't? What will someone else do? If I don't do this, someone else will do this, so I better do this. And that's what led to a lot of the last round. And if there is a next wave, that's what it'll be predicated on.
I guess that brings up the Notre Dame question too. Like, how long do they stay independent? And they are a national brand. They're the big fish that's out there. And who gets them? I mean, they have a relationship with the ACC, or did they just stay independent forever?
Well, that's been their intention all along, Kevin. And I've never quite understood what it is about being independent, other than that's what we've always been, so to speak. I don't really see what they get out of it. Back when, I argued a long time ago when they were playing basketball and the rest of their sports in the Big East, that if they joined the Big East football, which at that point, I mean, I think by the time I started arguing this, Miami had already left. So you're talking about Cincinnati, Pitt, Syracuse, et cetera, Rutgers at that time, that if they entered that league, they could have saved the football league. Notre Dame would have preserved that. And they could, I think the Big East would have been able to say, look, you can keep everything you got. NBC contract, the whole thing, keep it. We're good. We'll get paid as the visitors whenever we play as visitors. How many games you want to play? 6, 5, whatever it is. We'll play that number as our league. I think they could have had all that, but they value their independence. And if the college football playoff goes to 12 teams, I think they are now no longer incentivized to join a league because the relationship with the ACC gets them a schedule, along with the Navy game and the USC game and some of their other traditional games and the games they can arrange. So that gets them the schedule. And if they go undefeated against it or close, maybe 11-1, whatever. They'll get in. They'll get into the playoff, and if they have a 9-3 season, they'll have a 9-3 season. So I think the impetus for them to join depend. As long as NBC likes them as an independent, it keeps re-upping that contract, or someone else is willing to bid it away from NBC. As long as there's a market for them as an independent to sell their home games for a pretty price, there's no compulsion to enter a league. And I know people keep wanting to try to force them into that, force their square peg into that round hole. But as long as they can sell their games, And as long as they have SC to play, etc., I don't think there's any impetus for them to have to join a league.
How valuable is that NBC contract?
Back in the day, it was pretty substantial. I haven't looked at the numbers for a long time, but it's obviously good enough that they feel like they're doing just as well, if not better, as an independent than they would if they were a member of the Big Ten or ACC. I mean, they had their chance to join the Big Ten and ultimately, kind of left the Big Ten at the altar. I think that if they were interested and available, I think the Big Ten would still have them. My understanding is that they're kind of like the ACC has something of a right of first refusal, for lack of a better term, on them if they decide to join a league. But I just think they're happy the way they are. I've never quite understood it, but I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Yeah, because if they were in the Big Ten as a school, they would get $50-something million once that was going. They're a natural Big Ten member. The ACC is their football is horrible, so they're not going to be a gigantic money making conference because that's where a lot of money is made. I think the ACC is just going to not be producing the revenue that they could, nearly what they could, because they do not have hardly any football programs that are achieving anything right now other than Clemson, which that's really poor for an entire conference. But I don't know that that's going to change anytime soon. And when football drives the trains most of the time, that's where a large chunk of the revenue comes from. They're lucky that their basketball conference is probably, if not one of the two best basketball conferences in the country.
Well, the one thing, they have the deal with ESPN with their network. It's a very long-term deal. It goes for, I believe, 10 years, which they had to agree to in order to get the ACC network launched. And it's not a poor contract. It's reasonable. It's certainly at least what they're worth, if not more. So they're not, there's been a tendency among sports journalists to frame this, the money thing, as if you're in the ACC or the Pac-12 or the Big 12, you're falling behind the SEC and the Big 10. Look, you're never catching up, man. It's not going to happen. The SEC is what it is. The Big 10 is what it is. You are never making that up. What you have to be able to do is reach a point where you can make enough so that you can run the athletic program at or around a similar level to what they do in the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, are you going to be able to pay your coach as much as, say, Kentucky pays John Calipari? And if you're in the Pac-12, no, that's not going to happen. The money's not there. But you can like they're an elite athletic program at UCLA, USC, Oregon. The idea that you're falling behind, I think, is a canard. I don't think that it really matters. And that's, again, why I was critical of the SEC on this move, because you're not getting ahead. You're getting more money, but you're not getting ahead. You're already ahead. And you can't, you can only get so much further ahead because, it's not like you're all of a sudden going to be petitioning the NFL to be part of their league. I mean, there's only so far you can get ahead. So I was critical of this deal for the SEC because I don't think it improves their membership. I think if I'm at Kentucky and I have a football program, I've gotten a little bit worse now. If I'm at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, I've gotten a little bit worse, or Missouri or wherever. I'm a little bit worse. And if some of those places, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, if the divisions are what they've been projected, they've gotten a lot worse. So I don't, you can, it's like, hit me over the head with a hammer and then give me $100. I mean, you still hit me over the head with a hammer.
But don't you think if you're falling behind, Mike, if you're one of those conferences like the Big 12 and you're not making as money, then you have the wanderlust aspect of it, the fact that you're going to have guys jump ship. Like, maybe USC and UCLA are saying, hey, look, the Pac-12, we're not making as much money here. We're going to go to the Big 10 because they're making more. I think that's the fear of falling behind as a conference.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, you've basically punted everything anyway. I mean, if you're UCLA and you join a conference whose base is literally 2,500 miles away from you, you've now really ceased to even concern yourself with athletics. You've really just made it strictly about money. I'm not against schools trying to maximize their revenue. But if you maximize your revenue at the expense of competition, then at that point, you're really, at that point, you're competition and experience, by the way, the student athlete experience, then at that point, you really have, you've punted. You're not really a athletic entity anymore. You're strictly a dollar generator.
Well, didn't West Virginia do that in the Big 12 with that situation too? They went there, and now they're having their kids travel all over the country to places that are far away, locales away from their base.
Yeah, I think West Virginia, though, was left with very few options. I mean, don't forget, they were left in the difference between the Big 12 and the American is, I think you're getting maybe 25 cents on the dollar in the American in terms of television revenue. And that's a different deal. I'm talking about the difference between getting 85 cents on the dollar and the full dollar, or as in the case of the SEC now, 85 cents on the dollar in the Big 12 to $1.25 in the SEC. The $1.25 is not going to change your lot that much, especially if you're Texas, which has never been starved for money. The money makes no difference to them. What they're doing is they are putting their failures as a football program specifically, but in athletics generally, they're putting their failures on the company they've been keeping. Oh, we're in a bad league, and that's why we stunk for a decade. It's really that they've done a really poor job of administering, hiring bad coaches, not giving them the right tools to succeed, and then not giving the time to succeed. That's what's been going on at Texas, and they can blame whoever else they want, but it's Texas at fault.
Quick look at football, college football, just some names throw out there: Purdue, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma State, Michigan State, West Virginia, Mississippi State, all those teams, Baylor, Texas A&M, all those teams behind Indiana's recruiting class. Unbelievable. Can you believe that? And Indiana inside the top 20 this is the Rivals top 20. I'm not sure if this includes Jabron, the latest commitment, the 4-star running back that they just got the commitment from. I'm not sure if this has got that updated on that, but Indiana with a top 20 legitimate recruiting class, Mike, that just continues. People were wondering when was that going to come? Well, it's here, and it's starting to really, that wave is starting to just not stop. It's kind of a wave that kind of keeps coming, and that tells me, man, well, this kid, he put out a list a few months back that had the top of the tops. You had Ohio State and Alabama, Penn State, I forget who else. Indiana was not on that list, but that's where he ends up. I think you're going to see more of that, and Indiana is, wow, they're competing with the heavyweights now.
Absolutely, and that's, it's exciting to see, and everybody who follows Indiana football has been waiting for this. And, that's kind of to my point. Imagine this were Ole Miss, that they had hired their Tom Allen, and he happened to be doing as great a job as Tom has done. And you're starting to get this forward momentum with a top 20 recruiting class, and then all of a sudden they drop Texas and Oklahoma on top of you. I mean, it's really hard to sustain that. So I think, I'm happy for Tom and for the Hoosiers and people who follow Indiana football that they've made this progress. And as I look out there, I don't think that there is a university that would improve the Big Ten from an academic or revenue standpoint. From an athletic or revenue standpoint, I don't see it, and I think that the commissioner of the Pac-12, the new commissioner of the Pac-12, had a really good answer when he was questioned about the possibility of expansion now that the Texas thing happened, and he said, we consider ourselves kind of an exclusive club with a pretty high barrier for entry. And we're not just going to go out there and grab everybody. That was, that's paraphrasing. And I think that you certainly can say that about the Big Ten, that it would take a very special school to fit into what they are and what they do. And I don't see that school as being available unless it happened to be Notre Dame.
I agree. That's definitely one of them. Caleb Banks, Indiana gets a recruit on the basketball side, which a little surprising. I didn't. He's a 3-star, which again, the stars not really doesn't matter. The fact that they took him because I think that they are really in control with just because they offer a kid does not mean that that kid's going to be on the roster. But the fact that they did take him this soon, they must have a lot of hope for his upside and think highly of him. 6'8" kid out of Georgia, as they continue to sprinkle in the kids that they want to be on this roster for Mike Woodson.
You know, it's interesting. In an ordinary year, like 2 years ago, let's say, that would be an automatic no-brainer. I mean, a top 125 kid at who's 6'8", with 215 pounds on his frame, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. The question is, what happens to that young? I mean, look at the people who are recruiting him: Alabama, Clemson, Georgia Tech. I mean, that's a big-time group. So, kid's got to be a player. But what's interesting is if you recruit a 3-star player now, that type of player is usually a kind of guy you take saying, first year, maybe not much. Second year, okay, we're going to start to really go. And third year, we want you to be a starter. That's the career path for a kid like that at a school like Indiana. And that's great because it's good for the player, it's good for the school. But the current environment hasn't facilitated that, and not on the school standpoint. They still want guys like that. They want you to follow that course because that works. Is the kid going to be willing to follow that course if he doesn't happen to, all of a sudden make this huge jump forward between now and when he shows up in Bloomington? Will he follow that course of development when he gets there? I'll be interested to see.
Mike, what do you have coming up next?
Still doing the Olympics, NBA draft. I put up a mock draft on Monday, a column I wrote on, I woke up at 3:45 a.m. to watch the U.S. women's soccer team in the Olympics. And I should have hit the snooze button, man. It was not, not necessarily just because the U.S. Both teams basically knew that they only needed a draw and played like it.
Looked like they hit the snooze
we'll
button.
See where they go from there now that they're in the quarterfinals. And I'll be covering more Olympics as we move forward.
Well, we look forward to it. Look forward to catching that at the Sporting News. We look forward to talking to you again a week from now, Mike. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Jim and Kevin. Always a pleasure.
You bet. Thank you. The great Mike DeCourcy joining us from the Sporting News, Fox and BTN. Up next, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him, Chronic Hoosier, after we come back from this break.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're... What's up, Holmes?
What's going on, gentlemen?
You know it, my brother. What's shaking with you, man?
Another day in paradise. Just sitting here soaking up the last moments of summer here before it slips away from it.
Do you ever get down to Yogi's?
I was just there about a week ago today, as a matter of fact.
I need to get you I'm going to start getting a Yogi's card for you. How's that?
I'll put it to use.
Yes. I got to remember that. Where's my book? I had a book. I'm trying to write all this crap down. It's called a to-do list.
Just get a wife. It works the same damn way.
Yeah. I forget what I was going to write.
I was going to ask if you wanted to go this weekend and catch the Mets and the Reds at Yogi said, Jim.
Are they playing in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go to New York and watch them kick their butt, but I don't have the money because I'm sending a student to cover Indiana in the Bahamas.
Who's going?
You probably don't know him, Matthew Byrne.
Nice.
I haven't had a vacation in 4 years, and I'm sending a damn student. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm spending all this money to send a kid to the flipping Bahamas. I'm like, God dang it.
Now, you're going to try to do video, or are you just going to have boots on the ground to get some audio?
You can only do 2 minutes per game.
Are you serious?
That's a heart attack.
Is that per IU?
It has to be because there's no TV.
Why would they do that?
I have no idea. I mean, it is really this, in my opinion, is set up to be for some big sponsor donor types, because this is expensive as hell to go to. You have to stay in a specific room that's like $800 a night. And there's no getting around it. We have to pay all that stuff. And I'm like, this is crazy.
800 a night. You mean 800 for the week? You mean?
I wish.
Oh, no, Atlantis. This is the first time previously you could get tickets and stay wherever you wanted. This trip, they're requiring you stay at the specific resort.
Oh, it's crazy. And I didn't have my passport ready in time. And now you got to have a passport. And I'm like, oh, crap, I can't go. Then my stupid head writer didn't have his damn passport writer ready. Alec, he can't go. So.
All right, we got 10 seconds coming back in.
Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome back on this Tuesday. It's been rocking and rolling already. Kevin Brockway's with us as always from CNHI. We've been talking to Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, Fox and BTN, and now joined by the great Chronic Hoosier. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Happy to be back with you, fellas.
Happy to have you here. It's been a nice summer. I'll be honest with you. There's only been 7 90-degree days, a little bit of humidity, but I got to tell you, as summers go, this one has not been the worst one.
No, it's been a wet one, but it's been a good one. I'll tell you what, man, and I know we say this every year. It's just the rights of getting older, but damn, it just seems like it's flying by faster than ever before. It just insane that we're staring down the end of it right now. It kind of feels like a light year since we last spoke even. I mean, just, the football team continues to do things that they've never done before. Who knows what college football looks like by the time this season even kicks off right now, as far as what the landscape has in store for the future, as far as conference realignments and all that. It's just wild time, and it feels like everything's just accelerating at warp speed right now.
It is certainly that, but the recruiting goes on both in football, basketball. Indiana just getting a new commitment on the basketball side. Caleb Banks, a name that's been out there a bit, but it's not one of the names that grabbed everyone's attention, I guess. But it doesn't really matter if that staff likes him. You have to trust they know what they're doing. So, big 6'8", wiry 215 kid from Fayetteville, Georgia. So there's that then, but you get a monster commitment on the football side of things, with the 4-star running back. We talked about that a little bit earlier, as that recruiting just continues to really just continue to catch fire. I don't know if they're done yet, but man, that's a big star to add on to the list there. They're a top 20 recruiting class. And that has never happened. So you've got Indiana football with a top 20 recruiting class on top of what they have right now. That's the recipe for consistent success, both Kevin and Chronic.
That's the thing that strikes me the most right now is, we're so fixated in the off season on the recruiting news. You tend to overlook what's currently on campus right now, what's actually going to be suiting up here in just a few weeks. You can very much make the argument this is the most talented Indiana football team ever to return to campus in university history. And yet we're talking about kids who may not be here for another year or two right now. It's just an absolutely wild time over in Memorial Stadium. But, you look at the basketball team, and it's like suddenly with this commitment, you get the sense that now they're kind of shifting, not just into, immediate roster building and keeping the thing together. We're now all of a sudden planting seeds for the future, not just for the 22 class, but realistically for rotation players in 24, 25 and beyond. And that's a sudden shift, at least from my seat, that, you're still trying to figure out what we look like next year. And meanwhile, the staff is playing several moves ahead, trying to get this roster set up for what it thinks it's going to need, in many years to come.
Well, I think the scholarship room aspect of it too, Chronic, in terms of the fact that, you've got 2 commitments in 2022, and you're already kind of over slot, but things can happen obviously with transfers and so forth on the basketball side. On the football side, you talk about, guys coming in. Heard a lot of good things last week from players about Stephen Carr. I mean, I think people are genuinely excited about him and what he could bring to that running back position. And, that's interesting to see, because we know that he obviously had a world of talent in California, had some injury issues, didn't work out for him, but him with Samson James, Tim Baldwin, I think you've got some good depth in that running back room, and it'll be interesting to see that competition in the fall. I'm going to be curious to see who the lead back is to take over for Stevie Scott.
Yeah, you knew that Lamatola wasn't going to sit idle in his return to campus and running the running backs room right now. And even still, it's surprising to see just how quickly he's having an impact, even beyond his own family and their commitments right now. But it's going to be a really, really exciting time offensively with the Indiana football program. I mean, that's been one of the elements that, they've had some glimmers, but you still get the sense that they've only begun to scratch the potential as far as what the running backs can truly contribute in this offense.
Well, that's the thing that has been missing to the offense is the running game. It has not, and I've said this a couple times. It hasn't hurt them, but it hasn't helped them. It just hasn't done anything. It's just been kind of there. But now I see a great change with that in both coaching and talent, and what they're able to do to integrate that into this offense. And that is only going to make this a much more dangerous offense. And it's already a very, very dangerous offense with some great weapons, enhanced weapons, an enhanced offensive line. If they can keep the depth there, that is going to be crucial. Of course, Michael Penix being healthy is first and foremost, but you've then got to keep your offensive line as healthy as possible. Those two things, this team is as explosive, could be as explosive as any team, not just in the Big Ten, but in the country. I mean, they showed that on the road at Ohio State last year. So why in the world could they not do that this year if they're a little bit better?
Keep that QB upright, keep them healthy, and let's just see where this rocket lands, man.
That's the thing. And then also, but seeing they're playing under the expectations. Now they're playing under expectations now. The last couple of years, it wasn't really there. They got to the bowl game against Tennessee and lost. They should not have lost that game. The expectations come back next year to have a good season, but actually not like there are truly expectations this year. There is no reason that Indiana should not be battling at the very least Penn State for second place in the Big Ten East. I'm not saying that they cannot beat Ohio State. Just the odds are that's where I think that they'll end up. But they have a very, very good shot to end up second in that division again. You got to go out and win the games, though. That's the thing. They have a tough schedule, as tough as anybody. You start on the road at Iowa. My gosh, you've got a non-con game against Cincinnati, but you have to go to a Michigan team that's not as good as you. But that 110,000 is a 13th guy, and definitely going to a Penn State that is absolutely on par with you and has another 100,000. That's going to be a different environment for them. But they have the opportunity to have the most special season, I think, in Indiana football history, and that would include the Rose Bowl season, depending on what they can do.
Yeah, I think the difference between this season and 68, just look at the national landscape, look at the conference landscape. I think this has the potential to be an apex year for Indiana. And, we say that also recognizing you get the sense this is just the beginning for Tom Allen and Indiana football. So just wild time to be an Indiana football fan for sure.
What's coming up next for you, Chronic?
I don't know. Zach and I have been missing each other in the in the scheduling. We spend all this summertime
pining
Yeah, you know, is there even anything to talk about? Is it worth getting back together this week? Do you want to punt it? You know, and then last week with the conference realignment news, and then the Big Ten Media Day up in Indianapolis, that Thursday morning start we thought we had on the schedule just quickly went out the window. So we're going to try to get that back together this week. You know, trying to figure out exactly how that's going to work and when we're going to do it. But I think we're going to do it back in person, which is, you know, going to be the first time in almost 1 and a third years. So we're stoked about that. I got to take a freshman to Bloomington South tomorrow for orientation. That's kind of messing with my head right now. And then I got to go pick up a seventh grader from his first football practice today. So
try taking one to Ole Miss.
Yeah, just the out-of-state tuition.
A female.
I'm out on that. That's going to be a great time.
Not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to that.
In the Grove, yeah.
Oh, the Grove. Hey, man, that's one of the most famous places in college athletics. So it's a very, very cool environment. The Grove is, let's see, where? Oh, that was Auburn. The Tumors Corner, where the guy
Corner,
killed.
Yeah, you get the
guy killed the trees.
Roll the
trees.
Paper. Yeah, roll the toilet paper.
In the dead trees. Did they leave the trees up?
Yeah, they tried to get a new tree in there. Apparently, yeah, I've been there before, and it's interesting. Yeah, they got a little drugstore there. You can get the lemonade there, the fresh squeezed lemonade. It's a lot of character there in that Auburn, but not much to the town other than that.
You know, that reminds me, Chronic. What some kind of tradition? Indiana football needs. They need to start some kind of tradition. I don't know, either before, after the game, something to go along with this excitement. To keep the people engaged. I don't know. They've got the walk, which is great. But that's, you got to be there 45 minutes ahead and be in that one spot. But winning's the best tradition, I guess, of all. But I think that's coming. I really have great confidence in what these guys are doing, this staff and this team. I think it's just going to be a really, really fun season for the fans. No matter what, they're going to see a great college football program this year.
I tell you what, if we were going to start any new tradition this season that I'd be most looking forward to, how about a completely full house at the start of the fourth quarter? You know, that's the one thing, and I think there's a recalibration that's currently underway right now. But it's yet to come to fruition until we actually get to go inside the Rock, where everybody's there at the end when winning time comes in Memorial Stadium. Let's give this team a home crowd that truly delivers a home field advantage, that makes it impossible for offenses to operate, that really brings some juice to the defense when they're trying to get that third down stop. And let's just see how nuts we can get. Let's see what Indiana football looks like when it's truly firing on all cylinders. And you have that synergy in the stadium. And let's just see what Bloomington's capable of. I mean, this has been, it's world renowned for one of the best college places in the world. It's a tremendous tailgate. It's a tremendous fan base. We've just never fully seen it unleashed in support of the football team against the type of schedule you've got coming in, quite frankly. And I cannot wait to see what that looks like, to hear what it sounds like, to feel it again. And I think that's the one thing, just to feel that crowd reverberating through your chest, getting goosebumps just thinking about it, just talking about it. But as you say, man, just go out there and win some football games, and let's start here at Iowa City.
Wyatt put up a great stat. 11 of the top 15 highest ranked recruits in Indiana football program history have come or will be coming in the Tom Allen era. 7 of the 11 have yet to play a game for Indiana. That's even a better sign. So the talent is just continuing to flow in. Like I said, that's the thing. You can't. A lot of times I've seen programs kind of get their legs up, but they didn't have much behind them. Man, they've got a lot coming behind them. And I think it's just the beginning, because these coaches are just now getting out. The name Indiana is just becoming a legitimate destination for these players. Josh Hoover, the quarterback from Texas, he didn't even want to come up there and throw, but once he got there, it was over. And so I think that a couple of stories like that, and it's all it takes. Those out-of-state kids, you got the Florida kids saying it now. Now you've got kids from Texas. I guarantee you, no one could have imagined this 5 years ago, but it is heading in that direction. Tom Allen is doing a phenomenal job. You got to just keep giving him that credit, but he's also done a great job, Kevin, by making the product better. He's done everything by putting the right people around him. He didn't have the head coaching experience, but he was smart enough to put all of the right people around him, and he's succeeding because of it.
Yeah, strength and conditioning too. You can't underestimate that aspect of it, beginning with David Ballou, left for Alabama, and Matt Ray, and now continuing with Aaron Wellman. Just a development piece of it, just getting players better. I think that's been the, I think Tom talked about last year in Big Ten Media Day. He talked about, we have to be great evaluators and we have to be great developers. And I think they've done a pretty good job in that area. I mean, who knew that, Micah McFadden had the upside he did, Ty Freifogel had the upside he did coming out of high school. They developed them, and now they're all Big Ten players.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say all the way across the board, and I think that's the one. You want to know why they're doing so well in recruiting. Yes, Tom Allen has a great pitch. He has a great personality. He's a pretty solid person. But kudos especially to the staff, the development they've done, being able to show these guys, this is what we're going to do with you once you get to Indiana. This is how we're going to make you better. And if we can do it with this guy, who came in as a 3, imagine what we can do with you and all the talent you bring to the table. You want to know why it's working? That's it right there. That's the nail on the head.
Well, and another reason is because if you look this year, last year was a big year, but even more this year, Michael McFadden he's been put on the Butkus Award watch list. These are the big time awards, linebacker award. But you got Tom Allen on the top, the Dodd Trophy Award, Ty Freifogel and Michael Penix Jr. on the Maxwell Award, Michael McFadden, Tywan Mullen, the Bednarik Award, Michael Penix on the Davey O'Brien, Stephen Carr, who transferred in, on the Doak Walker Award nominee, Michael Penix for Big Ten, Ty Freifogel, Bolitnikoff, Peyton Hendershot, John Mackey Award, Tywan Mullen, the Jim Thorpe Award, and Michael McFadden again, the Butkus Award. Those are all the big time national awards. The only one that's missing there is the Heisman. That's all dependent upon what Michael Penix does. If he starts having a good season, you're going to start seeing his name. But he's going to have to do some big things and stay healthy for that to happen. But other than that, when you're on these lists, when you have players on these lists, that means people are paying attention to you.
Yeah, Indiana is a brand now, and it's my entire lifetime and well before it. It's kind of been the butt of a lot of jokes when it comes to college football. Those days are gone, and you can continue to make them at your own expense because it just shows how little you're following college football right now. These are your Indiana Hoosiers. Be proud of them. Show up and let's show them some support.
My team's on the floor, right?
Yes, sir.
Connor, what else is that it, man? Anything else happening for you?
Not a thing, man. I'm still waiting to see what my prognosis is. I got an appointment with the surgeon here next week, so we get to find out exactly when I'm going to be eligible, whether I'll be able to make it
ACL? Was this an ACL thing? Was this an ACL?
Yeah, I got a completely ruptured ACL and a fractured tibia.
Ouch.
Now, can we talk about how we did this, or is that?
Man, I fell out of the back of my truck putting some kayaks in there. I mean, just as dumb gets. My flip flop blew out. I was standing straddling the wall. I had one leg, my left leg, I thought was going to be what got tore up. It was completely wedged between a boat and the truck, and the side of my flip flop blew. My foot slipped off a tire. My knee was over my head, and being the athlete I am, I tried to rotate so I could at least be perpendicular to the leg that was stuck. And unfortunately, I didn't quite complete the rotation. And as I landed on my right leg, we heard a pop, and that's the rest of the story.
Ouch.
Gee whiz. Where were you going to be kayaking?
I did kayak. We actually paddled 7 miles that day out of Lake Lemon. And then,
is this after the fact?
I was on the ground for about 40 minutes trying to assess how bad it was.
He's a badass.
I got up, we finished loading the boats up. We went out to Lake Lemon. I unloaded and loaded them all back in. Had the whole family out. Did a nice little 7-mile paddle, and then did a lot of ice for about a week. I thought I was getting better, man. I actually went out and walked 4.5 miles at this golf scramble. Even though I had a card, I had Jonathan Tay's card up in the region, and come to find out, it did not get better. It was not okay. So go get checked out when you're not feeling good, guys. It's a smart thing to do. Don't be dumb like Chronic.
Just got another a release. The Bronco DeCourcy Trophy watch list is out. Looks like Taiwan Mullen of Indiana on that list as well. So
Micah
there's
McFadden
another.
too. Yeah.
Oh, he's on that one too. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. 2 more lists to add him to. That's incredible. I mean, it's just going to be fun to watch, man. I am so looking forward to this season, and we are getting closer and closer to camp. We had Big Ten Media Days last week, Chronic, and it was just great getting to do that. Fall camp starts 1 week from it starts this Saturday for this team. So kind of odd starting on a Saturday, but that's when it all happens, man. And then from there on, it's on.
No, it's here, man. I was just telling my kids that on Sunday. We were taking some furniture over to Goodwill, and just noticing the line of all the people getting rid of all the stuff as the apartments are starting to turn over. You know, it's the rhythm of the seasons here in Bloomington, and it's as July starts to come to a close, you know, that all of a sudden, everywhere you look, it's back to school season, man. It's here, it's upon us, and we're right on the cusp of it. Can't wait to start another year.
Absolutely, man. I can't thank you enough as always. We appreciate you. Go out and have yourself a great day.
Thanks for having me, guys. Catch you next week.
You bet. Chronic Hoosier brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to AndyMooreHonda.com. You can find exactly what you need. Hey, we got more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for a
So that just came out. Perfect.
Caden Curry,
Indiana offered Adam Vinatieri's son
what's
a
that?
preferred walk-on as a kicker. It's another interesting little offer.
What class is he? 2020.
I'm not too sure. I actually saw it. I can't remember what class it was, but his name's AJ Vinatieri.
Matthew Bedford's on the Outland Trophy Award list.
I was wondering. I didn't go through that. That's amazing. Let's see. You get Indiana an Indiana lineman nominated on that. That's they're just giving Indiana some respect there.
AJ Vinatieri is 2022 class, so this year. Or this coming class, I guess I should say, not this year. And he also has an offer from Florida, I believe. I'm sure he has others, but Florida was the other one.
Where are you seeing this?
On his actual Twitter. AJ Vinatieri. After a great visit, I am honored to receive an offer, PWO, preferred walk-on to Indiana University. Thank you so much at Coach T, at Coach Allen, and the rest of the coaching staff for this great opportunity.
Oh, cool.
And then the day before, he had an offer from Florida.
How do you spell Vinatieri?
V-I-N, or let me pull it back up so I don't say it wrong or spell it wrong. It is Vinatieri.
Man, that's a tough one.
AJ Vinatieri.
Oh, it's
son
AJ.
Of Colts. The Colts great kicker.
The Hurricanes have offered him too.
Okay, spell it for me again.
Vinatieri.
Hey, all right, never mind. That's what I was missing.
Okay. All right, bringing us back.
Goes to Zionsville.
There you go. Yep.
Bloomington's got you covered. They're Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month? Or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. It's Tuesday. Hope your day is going well. The week's off to a good start. Just talking about a few things. Indiana's offered a preferred walk-on opportunity to the son of Adam Vinatieri, AJ Vinatieri.
Yeah.
Coach Allen believes wholeheartedly in the special teams. I mean, he talked about that at the Big Ten Media Days. Wish I had that clip. May have to find that. But talked about how he coached special teams at Ole Miss. And that he may, I don't know how many schools do it, but he's one of the only schools. He puts the long snapper on scholarship. You just saw where the kicker got a preferred walk-on offer, but this snapper, the long snapper, scholarship for 4 years. So he's locked down, but that would be kind of cool.
That's another way to, find an edge there. You know what I mean? In terms of, doing something different that Tom Allen certainly does. AJ Vinatieri also has offers from Florida and Miami too. So his name is going around circles here. He's visiting different campuses and generating a lot of interest. So if he's anything like his dad, one of the great clutch kickers in NFL football history. I know it didn't end well for him with the Colts, but certainly made a lot of big kicks throughout his career. I'm sure that if AJ's anything like his father, I'm sure he'll do very well in his college career.
With the NBA draft coming up, Pete Clausen says there's not much time for NBA talk, but you see Van Fleet, old guard, OG, and fourth pick in
OG
draft.
Yeah, probably.
Does that happen, or is that being worked up?
Being worked up, apparently. Yeah, that's rumor. NBA draft, coming up on the Thursday night. Pacers with the 13th pick.
Yeah.
What direction do they go?
Exactly. What? Who do you like?
Point guard.
Of course, it's of course it depends on who's doing what.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, they've worked out some point guards. Sharif Cooper, the kid from Auburn. I did a story on a couple of weeks ago. Trey Mann. Maybe you try to go a wing, athletic wing as well. So there's a lot of different directions that you can go there. But I think athleticism and defense is a priority under Rick Carlisle.
Right now, CBS has, that's 7, 8, 9, were they 13? Jalen Johnson from Duke, 6'9" freshman. Is that the kid that quit?
Yeah.
See, I want nothing to do with him. If I was a team, I want nothing to do with that kid. He quit on his team. I know he was 18 probably, but I don't care. A quitter's a quitter.
Mental health?
That's not what he said.
Well, did Simone Biles quit on her team today? Or was it a mental health issue?
I don't know. I didn't. This was not suggested to be that. So how did that
the Simone Biles thing? They ended up announcing that it was a medical condition and not solely based on mental health. So there you go on that.
But this has nothing to do with that. He never even suggested that, did he?
We haven't.
Johnson struggled.
He might have been mentally stressed from dealing with Coach K. You don't know.
It says while Johnson struggled on his 13-game stint, 13 games. This dude played 13 games. At Duke, before quitting the team, he's still a borderline lottery talent because of his frame and ability to play, make, and pass at his position. No doubt some flaws in his game, but the former 5-star has a nice pedigree, worth gambling on as he adds and he adds unique ability on offense that could make him of value regardless of how the other parts of his game develop. I disagree with that. Man, I'm not starting off with someone I got to worry about mentally, not being there, quitting on you. I mean, he's already shown a penchant for quitting. Why in the world? I mean, I know you may need that, but man, if you've got that kid from Australia that looks to possibly be going right in front of him, that's kind of similar, but yeah, he's a lot better opportunity, but I don't think they're going to get a chance to take him.
Yeah, like I said, with the Pacers, it's going to be you'll be curious to see who they're going to go with or what direction they're going to go. I do think point guard, like I said, if you can move Malcolm Brogdon to the 2 and get a really good point guard, because you don't know what you're going to do with TJ McConnell also. But I think that could be an interesting. I think that's an area of need for him. I think you get the point. And Trae Young showed that sometimes a little point guard can work.
Tim asks, has there been any release of TV availability for all the football games? There has been for half, I know.
First
at least for the first four games. So you just go Google that. The September 4th game. That's going to be on ABC. Is it really?
Yeah, Big Ten Network.
It's at 3:30.
3:30. It's on Big Ten Network. Yeah, the Cincy game is going to be on ABC or ESPN.
The Cincy game is also a noon game. Let's see. The Idaho game is at 7:30. So that's probably Big Ten Network.
Big Ten Network. And then the Western Kentucky game is CBS Sports Network.
Odd.
Prime time,
man. Indiana Iowa game. How are they not? How's that not a national game, man? How's Fox not using that game?
Well, I mean,
they have. Don't they have Auburn and somebody?
Yeah. Opening week are a lot of marquee matchups. Actually, Alabama, Miami, I think it's going to be in that 3:30 window.
Yeah, but who cares? They're going to kick the crap out of Miami. This is two ranked teams right here.
It's two brand name teams. I mean, it's
a brand that is no good anymore. Miami is that's. I mean, I know you went there.
I'm just telling you, it gets ratings. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when the game's a 42-6 game, it's not going to be getting very good ratings. But this is probably going to be a good game, the Indiana Iowa game. We'll see. But the first four games, Indiana Iowa 3:30. Next week, 7:30 at home against Idaho. Then again at home against Cincinnati at noon. And then they go on the road to play an 8:00 game down in Western Kentucky under the lights.
You've got, I'm trying to see what in the Big Ten schedule also. You've got, do you have Penn State, Wisconsin? Is that 3:30 game?
On which day?
On the 4th, yeah.
So I just need to pull up a Big Ten football schedule so I can pull all those
Penn
out,
State,
man.
Wisconsin is noon. That's going to be another pretty big matchup for opening Big Ten matchup. But yeah, 3:30, you got Alabama, Miami, Florida, West Virginia, Maryland, Marshall, Navy.
Well, and there are games that are going to happen before. I mean, Nebraska opens up at Illinois.
Yeah. And,
August 28th.
Ohio State is
called Week 0, known as Week 0.
Week 0, yeah. And Ohio State is at Minnesota on Thursday night, September 2nd.
Kirk Ferentz made the statement the other day that in opening up with Indiana to start the season, this is the first time since 1979 they have opened up with a conference opponent.
Yeah. Well,
and it was Indiana.
Other than last year.
Well, last year didn't count. That was COVID. But Indiana's done it twice in the last 4 years and has got 2 more times in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I said, sometimes.
How is that not a disproportionate? We're talking 1979 until now. Are you kidding me?
If you are a program that's, traditionally not, where Indiana was, let's put it that way. I think you kind of get those marquee games early in the season, like you get the Ohio States and so forth. But I think as you become more established, that'll change and you'll be able to, ease into your schedule a little bit. So I think the next couple of years, maybe you'll see those Florida forever played the 2 cupcakes to start the year, and they had some kind of ridiculous 26-year and then they played I forget what team they played a few years ago and they got beat and that streak came to an end.
Boy, you talk about the game I can't wait to miss. Nebraska opens up at Illinois.
Yeah. Well, they were originally supposed to play that game in Dublin. And then it got moved because of COVID, yeah.
But you want to talk about an important game? That's an important game to both of those teams. As horrible as that sounds, that is of uber importance, more so for Scott Frost in Nebraska.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Brett Bielema needs to set a tone. It would be great for him, but Scott Frost is in as a matter of fact, Scott Frost. I know we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to play a little clip from something I heard him say. We got more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you right here after
We'll
this.
be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're
Are you playing the thing that you posted on Twitter?
All the time or come up with, not into sloganeering. If the players need me to motivate them
right?
all the time or come up with a unique slogan to get them to play harder, I probably don't have the right players.
I mean, I can turn it up if I have to.
No, that sounds just fine.
That's fine. He didn't need all the sayings and slogans.
Did you hear that clip he said? Kevin?
What?
Did you hear that clip Scott Frost said the other day?
About what?
Well, listen.
Looking to get them to play harder, I probably don't have the right players. I'm not into sloganeering. If the players need me to motivate them or all the time or come up with a unique slogan to get them to play harder, I probably don't have the right players.
Yeah, I heard that. The slogan
I played for Coach at Nebraska and Coach Osborne.
Who's he talking about? Tom Allen? PJ Fleck?
Yeah, he's talking about Allen and Fleck. Well, I think it's more directed at Fleck than it is at Allen.
But to me, he needs to be talking about nobody. Because number one, he's won it. Well, I'm going to save this for that.
Does Scott Frost seem like the football version of Archie Miller?
No, he's not. Archie Miller was not that good.
I mean, is Scott Frost that good?
Well, he took Central Florida to. I don't think he's a fraud.
Yeah, well, Archie took Dayton to an Elite Eight. You know what I mean?
Archie's just a fraud.
Maybe Scott Frost is too. Maybe because
Archie got lucky because a last second shot went in on one fucking game. That is it. His entire deal was based off of the last second shot going in against Ohio State.
Maybe Frost got lucky at UCF with some touchdown at the end of the game too.
Man, you can't get lucky to go undefeated and then to beat.
You got to get lucky sometimes to go undefeated.
No, I'm just saying he didn't get lucky. He didn't get lucky 12 times.
Yeah.
And they beat Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn didn't really care about that game though.
Yeah, whatever. Everybody says that when they get their ass kicked. Well, we didn't care about that game anyway.
Like when Indiana lost IPFW a few years ago.
No,
in basketball.
Florida. No. Yeah, you care about it.
They made West Virginia, Maryland the ESPN game on the September 4th instead of Indiana, Iowa. That's kind of
now, see, what does that tell you? Right. How idiotic is that?
Got a few seconds bringing us in.
All of the right boots to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Coming to you on this Tuesday, Kevin Brockway with me. We have had a great fun day so far. It's been packed. I saw this after I got home from Media Days the other day. I saw this clip being played and thought I would clip it and play it and listen. This is Scott Frost. I'm not sure who he's talking about, but I think I can narrow it down to two coaches. But listen to what he has to say.
All the time or come up. I'm not into sloganeering. If the players need me to motivate them or all the time or come up with a unique slogan to get them to play harder, I probably don't have the right players. I played for a coach at Nebraska and Coach Osborne that he didn't need all the sayings and slogans. He just taught us the right way to do things and we went to work. That's what we need in our program.
Who's he talking about? PJ Fleck? Tom Allen?
I think more Fleck than Allen, but hey, LEO, man. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
To me, Fleck only has the roll the boat thing.
Yeah.
Tom Allen's the one that's changing it and doing different things all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Tom brings it, but coaches.
Well,
I think
there's a little, but see, the thing is, there's a deal between Nebraska and Indiana too that you're probably not aware of, but right before 2 years ago, and then for him to say that, I don't really care if he's talking about Fleck or Allen. He cracks me up because he's 1-4 against both of them in the league. He's on the hot seat. PJ Fleck's not. Tom Allen's being carried around on a throne. He probably needs more to worry about about Scott Frost and what's going on in Lincoln. Maybe he needs a slogan like "Just win, baby."
Yeah, no, I mean, I think successful coaches often talk in visions and talk in themes. I mean, I think that's, how you build a program. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that I think good coaches probably do that, more so than, coaches that are not good. But I think that's, I think that's more directed at Fleck than it is at Tom Allen. And LEO seems different than a slogan. It seems more like an overall culture than row the boat, in my opinion. And I think
it's not just LEO though. It's Chase and it's a breakthrough, and because he's just got almost one for each week. So
every year he's got different themes that he talks about as players. But I think the national
Fleck just does the row your boat thing, right? That's the one thing.
Yeah, well, you don't know. I mean, if you followed his program a little closer, maybe there are other things that he incorporates within that we don't know about, as well. I just think with Fleck, it comes across as less genuine than it does with Tom Allen. That's
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. For him, it's a tagline that he found. It's a tagline he found. Whereas for Tom Allen, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It is a way of life that he lives to the nth degree.
PJ Fleck is not liked very much in the West Division. Let's put it that way. I mean, I know that Jeff Brom is not a big fan. There are a lot of coaches that aren't a big fan of the way he goes about things.
I think he's a great salesman. He kind of reminds me of a car salesman. Yeah. I can see that. Jeff Brom's just a good football coach. And then you got people like Belima, who's old gruff, have been kind of around, but I don't know. But you got the elder statesman there with Kirk Ferentz. It's going to be interesting.
Huskers, we got someone. I think the Huskers will contend in the West this year. Now, Adrian Martinez is a pretty good quarterback, but I still don't think that they have enough horses on both lines of scrimmage. I think that's their big issue is toughness. They're not Nebraska of 1990. They don't have the physicality, and they lost Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a heck of a playmaker. He's down in Kentucky. That's another guy. That's another big loss for them.
Yeah, how'd that happen? RBL Spence said earlier that Arizona State's starting to lose some recruits. Alfonso Allen would be nice at safety. He had IU as a finalist. Wouldn't be surprised. That's the thing. Indiana keeps great relationships, and with the portal, kids feel like they made a mistake and see how things are going elsewhere, and like, wow, I kind of want to be a part of that party.
Yeah. It would, Herm Edwards, I mean, that's a mess over there right now at Arizona State. And
what's going on there?
Who knows how much Herm knew? There's a lot of NCAA investigation, improper recruiting. Apparently, they're trying to play off like it was a rogue assistant coach and that Herm really didn't know much about it. But my guy Herm, the former Jets coach, you play to win the game. You play to win the recruiting game, and maybe they played a little too hard there. Yep.
Well, remember when he first came in, he didn't believe that those jerseys were actual football jerseys because they're really small and they stretch so much. He's like, "What are these? Like little kids jerseys?" But so yeah, that's something that you see happen when a pro coach comes in. A good reason why you look at Indiana on the basketball side, how they have surrounded Mike Woodson with veteran college people, Thad Matta, Dane Fife, veterans that have been around the college game. So you can't make those mistakes, but looking forward to that. You know, we've got Media Day coming up for Indiana football on August 5th. Don't forget. We get to do that again. So that how far out are we for that?
I think it's a week from Thursday, I believe. Yeah.
So got to get that on the calendar. Looking forward to that.
First practice August 6th would be Friday. Yeah.
I thought practice opened on Saturday.
Well, August 6th is a Friday, I think. Yeah.
Well, you are correct, sir. All right. I was off a day. So there's that. But it's going. It's happening. We're a week out from camp starting. It's crazy, but football's here. Fans are going to be here. Games are going to be happening. Do you have your tickets? Traveling. I wonder what people are going to be like traveling. I think that they're ready to get out. Just ready to get out. Tailgating is great because you're out. It's a great way to congregate but you're outside. So, man, little NFL talk. RBO said, Sprint says, sounds like T.Y. Hilton's not sure about getting his vaccine. Paris Campbell got his. We've had that conversation with Bob Kravitz. We'll do that again tomorrow.
Frank Reich on the shelf with COVID. How about that? You know?
Well, my first question, was he vaccinated?
He said he was vaccinated. Yeah, he's vaccinated.
Okay. So he was vaccinated. That's starting to make you get a little scary, huh?
Well, I think, like I said, there's a chance you can get it if you're vaccinated. It's just a matter of, you're going to be protected from its, major effects. So I think it just kind of is what it is right now.
How did he know he had it? Did he get sick?
Well, no, I think you go through testing protocols. Like if you're a professional athlete or if you're
the only reason he knew is because he tested positive, not because he knew.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of the issue right now is like, who knows, Jim, we might, we don't get tested every day like athletes do. We might've had it and never knew it. That's the whole thing. It's like, I've never been tested for it. I don't know if you've ever been tested for it.
I have not, but I am looking forward to the fact that during the season, we should be able to attend practice. And right now, the plan is to be able to do press conferences in person on Mondays and with Coach Allen via Zoom on Thursday. We'll do in person on Tuesday as well as player coaches. And they do their radio show on Wednesday. But, man, it's
games too. Apparently that's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to all of that. It's going to be great. It's hopefully getting back to the way things used to be, but things can change. You never know. We've got to, hope that everything continues to go forward in a positive way. But the hope is there right now. That is the plan because it makes a difference. We're so fortunate to have Coach Tom Allen and Marcelino Ball sit down with me at last Friday at Big Ten Media Days. I got to speak to the president of the College Football Playoff Championship host committee for Indianapolis, which is coming here. So Susan Ballman, that was fun. That's a lot of excitement coming to Indianapolis. I mean, we had Big Ten Media Days. The end of the season, you're going to have the Big Ten Championship, then the national championship. That's football, some serious football, man.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very exciting. And then talking to her, I thought what was really interesting was I said, hey, are there going to be all indoor events? And she said, hey, we might have an event or two outdoors. So we'll see how chilly it is on January 10th.
Got a little bit
outside
of
of
breaking
Stadium.
news. It's nothing that we wouldn't expect, but Oklahoma and Texas have officially requested invitations to the SEC starting on July 1st, 2025.
There you go. Not a shocker there. Yeah, so we were 4 years away from that. So my daughter will still be at Ole Miss.
I think that'll be negotiated much sooner than that. I think that's just a formal request, but I think that
because then they're going to pay about $80 million each, and that is chump change for Texas. They spend that on lunch money, but
chump change for the SEC too. Yeah.
And so there you go. Thanks a lot, John, for that bit of information. But so now what? What does that do? We talked about it anyway. It's not like it wasn't going to happen unless something drastic changed. So now that happens. The SEC has situated itself. The thing that scares me is by doing that, they're securing more and more football. You've guaranteed you have to go to 12 teams as soon as possible for the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
By doing this. Absolutely have to. Now, but I think that Texas and Oklahoma may have hurt themselves on getting to the playoffs. Now, you've got to go through a hell of a lot more difficult schedule than you've ever dreamed of going through. You're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You're not playing those chumps.
But yeah, it's going to expand to 12 teams, so you don't have to be the best team in the SEC to get in. It's not like the old college football playoff. I think that factors into it too. The one thing I would say about the SEC, or even about Texas and both sides of this relationship, is buyer beware. You better watch out what you wish for, because Texas had a reputation of kind of being the bully of the Big 12 and being able to throw its weight around.
They could.
That's what I mean. You're not going to be able to do that in the SEC. It's a lot.
Well, I think that surely to God, they have to know that, because first of all, Alabama would just punch them in the mouth and say, go away.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, but that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, they maybe they might have this perception, we're going to come into the SEC and we're going to change the SEC and we're still big bad Texas and we can throw our weight around. Well, that's not going to cut it in the in the SEC. You got to work together here, and on the SEC side too. You know what I mean? You want a partner that's going to be willing to kind of be collegial and play ball with the other teams. So it's going to be an interesting marriage, because Texas has a reputation for having an opinion of itself as being kind of the bully of the block here, and they're going to have to adapt a little bit in their conference and realize that, hey, that's not the way it works in a big-time power conference like the SEC. And maybe that's why the Big Ten avoided them too. That could be another reason, because their reputation precedes themselves in that regard, or the Pac-12, that that their reputation precedes themselves and how they play with others in the league.
So let's see. But so now where we go next? Where's the Big Ten go next? Who knows? Because like I said, they're going to have to do something, I think, just to add a few TV markets. But there's no teams in the Big 12 that I can think of now that really bring a lot. Now, you're going to mention Baylor because of the Dallas market. But
they still get
I don't know what they're academic wise. I don't know what they are like.
Yeah, and they still get dwarfed by Texas and Texas A&M. Texas A&M has a Houston market. Texas has a Dallas market. I don't think that and don't forget, Baylor is they won the basketball national championship, but they're not far removed from the sexual scandal and Art Briles.
Right.
The reputation of the school is another factor here that I think you have to.
Well, where else do you go? I mean, seriously, think about it. I mean, what else do you do? We've talked about USC or UCLA from the West. The other option is to go east, because there's nothing in the middle that offers anything. You already have Chicago, and that you've got Detroit, you've got Pennsylvania with Penn State. You've got some of the East Coast. Do you venture into the ACC? I mean, it's just not. I don't see it.
How about do you go Cincinnati, Luke Fickell, or does that bring
no?
They're kind of a city school, but do they bring the Cincinnati?
Exactly.
Market?
It doesn't matter. That's a small market. B. It's a school that is not up to the standards of the Big Ten. That's why Louisville will never be in the Big Ten. Cincinnati, those type of schools will never be in the Big Ten. They are not even in the next universe as far as academics to being accepted. That's one thing they're not going to bow on. Whether the AAU is one thing, that's just a difference in what the type of like, again, research heavy and whatnot. But if you're a low academic school and
BYU, you get Utah, Salt Lake City.
What's that get you? That doesn't get you anything.
Salt Lake City's
small market.
A decent
Small
sized
market.
market.
It's another small market. If you're gonna go out west, you go straight to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Wait, why? I mean, why would you not? If you're going that far, the hell, you go the whole way. And why would you might be able to bring?
But I mean, are you going to be able to get USC and UCLA from the Pac-12? That's the question. Are they going to abandon it?
Well, if you offer the kind of money that would increase, it's already at a roughly 50 million. You add the Los Angeles television market and those products, and possibly Oregon.
Remember Mike DeCourcy's point about you're putting yourself at a competitive disadvantage, right, crossing time zones all the time.
The only thing is on that, you're going to see more team events instead of one-on-one last year, like they did at COVID. I think they should be doing that anyway with these Olympic type events, lacrosse and all that smaller. Bring in more teams at once, play multiple games in the same place at once, save some money. It is just dumb sending those small teams all over the place, which it just quadruples the cost. We're out of time. We got to go. I'm getting ready to get on a rant, but hey, it's been so much fun. We're back tomorrow to do it all again. Kyle Nedrip from the Star be with us. Bob Kravitz from the Athletic. We'll see what else we can get scared up. I cannot thank Kevin Brockway enough. As always, our good friend Mike DeCourcy from the Big Ten Network, Fox, and the Sporting News, Chronic Hoosier as well. Most importantly, you guys, without you all, we've got nothing to do. John, the producer, as well. But we'll be back tomorrow to do this all again. Thanks a lot. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.